Lents is completely unaware of the problems of fusing the ankle bones. And so that shows that the ankle bones do have a function.
I used to work as a software engineer. And as a software engineer, I learned that it was really easy to point out what I thought were flaws in other people's code, especially when I didn't understand what the code was doing. So I've had instances in my own life where I thought that there was something that was stupidly designed, and I went ahead and tried to make modifications to it, only to discover that my changes broke the code. So in other words, that there were real functional constraints as to why it was coded the way it was coded. So I end up breaking things. I feel like that's a similar situation with many skeptics who will look at the design of organisms and specifically the human body and say, oh, what kind of creator would make a body like that? Who would give us wrist joints with all these bones sloshing around? Who would give us these incredibly intricate ankles that seem like they're just poised to break? Again, it is easy to criticize when you don't understand. So I sought some understanding by sitting down with world-renowned mechanical engineer Dr. Stuart Burgess of Bristol University, who works on actually building prosthetic joints, to ask him, does the human wrist joint or the human ankle joint represent a bad design? Is this an instance of unintelligent design? Based on his functional know-how of how these systems should work. His answer might surprise you.
Written in historical records, documented in Tacitus and Josephus. For those who don't believe us, check the marks of architecture written on a fetus. Neural nets and error correcting codes complete us.
Chaos theory.
Reality.
So I'm Stuart Burgess, and the last 40 years, I've been involved in research in mainly robotics and biomechanics and bioinspiration, very much related areas. And so some of the projects I've been working on have been robotic joints and prosthetic joints, particularly for the feet and particularly for hands and knees as well, and have various publications on those areas.
All right, so I have heard claims that our wrist joints, our ankle joints, these are examples of unintelligent design. How would you respond to that?
I would respond by saying engineers are absolutely in awe of the incredible design that we see in feet and hands. If you look at journals on bioinspiration, where engineers have sought inspiration from very good designs in nature, many engineers have studied the foot in detail and the hand in detail, trying to copy it. It's considered the gold standard of design. And so it's not just me who thinks that, it's what my colleagues believe, my colleagues in biomechanics. People who criticize the design of the feet and the hands are very often people who've never worked in that area. They're only saying it because that's what evolution predicts. And actually, I agree, evolution does predict bad design. But if you actually work in the area of feet and hands, you realize it's a brilliant design. One of my projects has been to produce a prosthetic foot and also a robotic foot. And I know firsthand that it's very difficult to copy the incredible engineering of the feet. What's interesting is that whilst you can get a very good prosthetic hip joint and a very good prosthetic knee joint, you can't actually get a prosthetic foot joint. All you can have is a very simple foot. And the reason for that is just too difficult to copy. In my lab, I've had one project and published a paper on one of the most advanced prosthetic feet, which actually copies some of the arched structures and the toe joints. So I know firsthand how difficult it is to replicate that design. One of the reasons it's so difficult is that the foot has this amazing ability to be both stiff and flexible. So when you push off, when you're running and walking, the foot becomes very stiff. And when you land, the foot becomes very flexible. And it's very difficult in an engineering system to combine that stiffness and flexibility. That's one of the things that's so hard to copy. So I know firsthand the foot is a brilliant design.
Okay. How would you answer people who say, but look at all those bones just sloshing around in there. Surely someone could have done it with fewer bones.
Yeah, I've written a paper describing how every single bone in the foot has a function. There are 3 arches in the foot, Arches are very important for giving 3-point contact. The arches are very important for being able to stand on your toe. Like a Roman arch, which has lots of blocks, the foot has all of these individual bones. Every single one has a function. You have a keystone bone, just like a keystone in a bridge, and all the other bones form the arch. I've read in Nathan Lent's book that he says, well, we'd be better off if you just fused all the bones of the ankle. If you read medical journals, it's very clear that if you fuse your ankle, that there are consequences to that. You can't play squash, you can't walk on uneven ground. You then develop problems upstream and downstream of the ankle. So Lentz is completely unaware of the problems of fusing the ankle bones. And so that shows that the ankle bones do have a function. You're far better having usable ankle bones.
Chaos theory.